The Stalkers were the most talented group of fighters appointed to defend the upper class of Krot, highly skilled militia working as hired muscle for whatever was asked of them. But after the catastrophic disasters of the puppet frenzy and the petrification disease, the Stalkers were all but wiped out, and the ones who survived were just shadows of their former glory. Some turned to crime, some went into hiding, and others just wanted to find a way out. Unfortunately, for the few remaining Stalkers that we run into, their stories don't end up happily ever after. When Pinocchio is first awakened in the train car, he is given the option to pursue one of 3 different combat styles, each belonging to a different faction of the Stalkers. The Bastards and the Sweepers were 2 Stalker divisions that had arisen from disputes over who it was they pledged allegiance to. The Bastards were Stalkers that came from the wealthy old families of Krot, ousted from noble succession for not conforming to the beliefs held by their predecessors. Feeling displaced from being disowned from their aristocratic bloodline, the Bastards aligned with the alchemists and the technicians, believing that their rising power in the city would bring about a promising future for them. The Sweepers were Stalkers that came from impoverished backgrounds, their nickname a reference to their rough and ruthless combat style, influenced by their life growing up in the slums and alleyways. Feeling envious and alienated from Krot's new prosperity achieved by the puppet industry, the Sweepers joined forces with the old families after witnessing so many people left behind and forgotten by the new ruling class. Stalkers were hired to complete a number of jobs, most often at the expense of their own safety. In the early days of the petrification disease, they were given a unique task: installing stargazer machines that would capture ergospores to prevent the further spread of disease. This collaboration with the workshop ensured that the areas around the stargazers would be safe for residents to live. When the puppet frenzy first occurred, the Stalkers were sent in to clean house, and although they excelled in their role in protecting Krot from all the berserk puppets, thanks to the new weapons and tools created for them by the workshop, there would be one mission that proved fatal for nearly all of them: the collapse of the Workshop Tower. The Workshop Tower was where technicians researched and developed Krot's new technologies. Founded by Geppetto, this building was the central hub of new Workshop Union creations. As the puppet frenzy began to spread throughout other parts of the city and eventually reached the Workshop Tower, the Stalkers were sent in to squash the uprising. But maniacal puppets weren't the only thing they'd have to worry about. An ancient and destructive rock formation called Crowd had erupted from deep below the city, causing the streets and buildings to collapse into the ground. Many of the residents and workshop technicians were trapped inside the crumbling structures, unable to escape. Between the chaos of the puppet siege and the collapsing streets, many people perished, and almost all of the Stalkers died. Their ranks were reduced to just a handful, and the few that escaped were forever changed for the worse. Without the Stalkers to fight off the frenzied puppets and another resurgence of the petrification disease, Krot was in shambles. Some of the surviving Stalkers saw this as an opportunity to exploit the city's vulnerable residents, while others retreated inward, going mad from having lost everyone near to them. The first of the last remaining Stalkers you meet is the Mad Donkey. He was one of the survivors of the Workshop Tower collapse that went mad in his search for the truth behind the puppet frenzy and the petrification disease.
I'm here for the old man. Get lost. Wait. I know you. Or more like, I know what you are.
After witnessing the slaughter of all his comrades, he tracked down and cornered Geppetto, demanding an answer for why this catastrophe had happened. The description of his bone-cutting saw has a very peculiar line about how he had been awakened and had repeating visions of a puppet. During his fight on Elysian Boulevard, he tells you to stop showing up, confirming that Pinocchio is the one that he keeps seeing in his dreams.
Stop showing up already!
It's possible that he had somehow seen the truth about Geppetto's involvement with the puppet frenzy, but unfortunately, he doesn't live long enough to find out that he was right.
For my comrade.
The next surviving Stalker is holed up in Vanini Works, a young rookie plagued with guilt over abandoning his brother Leo in the Workshop Tower collapse. If you wear the Blue Blood's tailcoat, he'll mistake you for the ghost of his dead brother.
Leo? You came back? I killed countless puppets to atone for what I did. I didn't mean to break my vow. I was just so scared.
Even though the survivor tried to alleviate his guilty conscience of leaving his brother to die by slaughtering as many puppets as he could, he would never make a full recovery from the traumatic ordeal. Vanini Works is also where you first meet the Red Fox and the Black Cat, the notable exception to the rivalry between the Bastards and the Sweepers. The Red Fox came from the Wolf family, one of the old aristocratic families of Krat that at one time had the alchemists in their pockets. But due to a falling out with her family, she left her name behind and instead dedicated herself to the well-being of the cat, a former sweeper and a con artist that first approached the fox under the false pretense of being her long-lost brother. Even though she saw through this charade, the fox went along with the scheme, developing a genuine love and attachment to the cat, and he to her. When the cat started to lose his vision, the fox was determined to take care of him, and the pair became flunkies for the alchemists in return for gold coin fruit, which was the only thing keeping his blindness at bay. They dreamed of being able to make enough money to leave Krat behind for good.
My sister and I are going to leave for a different city. Get my eyesight back. A fresh new start as a family.
You ultimately have the option of helping them or fighting them after running into them several times, and should you choose kindness over conflict, the Red Fox finally introduces herself.
I never even introduced myself. I'm Claudia. If only we had been friends from the start.
On the way to Moonlight Village, you meet the Atoned, still holding her post at the foot of the mountain. When the puppet frenzy and petrification disease took over Krat, she served as a guiding guardian for the refugees who fled to the St. Frangelico Cathedral, unaware that she was sending them to their death.
I am a sinner who could not save the ones I loved.
Should you lie and give her the Stalker's greeting, she will initially let you pass. But if you return to the area, she attacks you with hatred, furious at having been tricked by a puppet.
You're an insult to humanity. Now pay the price!
At the top of the cathedral, you meet Alidoro, the famed stalker turned treasure hunter that was once known for his bravery and honor. Alidoro the Hound was one of the brave stalkers that responded to the workshop tower collapse. He had risked his life to enter the compromised building and rescue a countless number of people trapped there, including his sister Eugenie, though at the time, she had no idea it was him.
We could have starved to death trapped under the rubble if it wasn't for the Hound's sacrifice back then.
Years ago, Alidoro and his sister had arrived in Krat from across the sea, hailing from a land called the Country of the Morning. Alidoro worked as an alchemist and became well known in their ranks, but he eventually saw things that he shouldn't have. As he witnessed the alchemists' terrible experiments and discovered their horrible plans for the city, he realized that his snooping had put his life in jeopardy. He fled out of fear for what would happen to him should the alchemists ever find him. He most likely left Eugenie in the care of the Monad Charity House and erased all traces of his true identity. He created the persona Alidoro the Hound and trained to become a talented stalker so that he might always be able to protect his sister from afar. Alidoro met famed Krat reporter Maduro, and they formed a close friendship as they collaborated for months on an investigative report planning to unveil the alchemist's dirty plans to the public. Unfortunately, Maduro was fired before they were able to do so. After the events of the workshop tower collapse, Alidoro used his skills as a stalker to become a famous treasure hunter. Alidoro worked alongside his partner who went by the name Parrot, but the pair ultimately had disagreements over whether or not they should be profiting from the excavated antiquities.
We argued. One thing led to another, and I had to kill him. And stealing his identity was the logical next step.
After murdering Alidoro, Parrot continued working as a treasure hunter, impersonating his dead partner, exploiting the situation in Krat to turn a profit. Through his scams and trickery, he ended up sullying Alidoro's once glowing reputation and became known as a con artist and a thief.
The Alidoro I admire would never talk about a friend like that.
But Maduro knew the truth, and in the final days of his life, he recorded the last mention of the real Alidoro. H is dead, Maduro writes, and this is the closest that we get to knowing Alidoro's real name. But in the end, Alidoro achieved what he had dedicated his life to, protecting his sister until the alchemists were gone from the land. Below the cathedral lies the original town of Krat. After the workshop tower collapse, the neglected Malum district may have been as good as dead.
Through isolation and neglect, Krat's first incarnation became nothing but dangerous alleys and desperate slums.
The notorious former stalker gang known as the Black Rabbit Brotherhood saw the impoverished neighborhood as an opportunity to exploit its unfortunate residents, and they took over the district and ruled the slum town with cruelty. In return for a fee, the Brotherhood would offer protection from the puppets and carcass monsters that plagued the area, but if residents didn't pay, they would be left for dead, or worse. After Pinocchio kills the eldest of the Brotherhood, his siblings take his body to the alchemists in hopes they can revive him, not knowing that he would come back as an ergo-powered monster. He was meant to be the alchemists' last resort before Pinocchio could reach their hideout. But you know how the saying goes, crime never pays. The Black Rabbit Brotherhood just had to learn that lesson twice. The next stalker you meet is the White Lady, Patricia Corday. She once had hopes of singing on the stage with her sister Adelina, the most beloved actress in all of Krat. But after Adelina secretly poisoned her younger sister out of jealousy, Patricia's beautiful voice was forever destroyed, and she gave up her dreams to pursue a career as a stalker.
I dedicate this performance to my sister Adelina!
The White Lady has a single wing embroidered on her coat, and this could be a hidden reference to the one-winged angel in Krat legends that was said to have saved the life of Saint Frangelico. Patricia may have viewed herself as an angel meant to watch over Adelina, tragically dedicating her life to protecting the woman that ruined hers. In the heart of the barren swamp, you find the Owl Doctor. He was a stalker who pledged safe passage for the alchemists as he escorted them to the cathedral, unaware of the horrific ordeal he was about to endure. The alchemists were ruthless with their experiments in trying to create the perfect human. The Owl Doctor was kidnapped so that they could test their prototype elixir on a stalker. After he had been driven to insanity due to the side effects of the experiments, the Owl Doctor was left to die in the middle of the wasteland. Before he had left on that fateful mission, he had made arrangements to save the woman he loved, none other than Adelina Corday. He gave her instructions to meet him at an apartment where he believed they would be safe together and maybe one day start a family, but neither of the lovers would ever make it there. In his final moments, despite no longer even knowing his own name, he still remembered hers.
I remember now. My Adelina.
The Robber Weasel is the last of the surviving stalkers you meet. Realizing that Krat was doomed for good, she bided her time, pillaging and ransacking the abandoned houses and fighting off anyone that stood in her way, hoping to one day escape the city with just enough to start a new life. But she couldn't resist just one more target to rob, and unfortunately for her, she chose the wrong puppet.
I just wanted a full belly. That's not so wrong.
Although this concludes the stalkers that make an appearance in the game, there is one more stalker of great significance to mention, and that is the Legendary Stalker. Although she's mentioned a couple times in text, her most notable appearance is in Carlo's memories at the Black Seaside. Carlo had been sent to the Monad charity house by Geppetto, possibly meant to follow in his father's footsteps and become a workshop technician. But after striking up a friendship with another student named Romeo, Carlo dreamed of becoming a stalker.
Please teach me how to use a sword. You're a legendary stalker.
Ugh, so annoying. Germany, get over it. I'm off.
But after a deadly outbreak of the petrification disease at the charity house, Carlo's aspirations would never come to fruition.
No. I'm sorry. I was too late. I wish I'd got here sooner. If I had known this would happen.
There isn't enough information here to determine who the Legendary Stalker was, or if it's someone that we've already met in the game, but her appearance in Carlo's memories might be a big hint about her significance and connection to him. She is described as neither a bastard nor a sweeper, but walked her own path to build up her many outstanding achievements. This description goes all the way back to the first choice between the 3 different combat styles. The Path of the Cricket seems to be a reference to the Legendary Stalker, and this is further supported by the memory of her talking to Gemini. And if you recall that scene where Pinocchio first finds Gemini, the setting is a bit grim, so it's possible that there might have been some foul play involved with whatever happened to her. If we end up getting any prequel content, I'm sure we'll get to find out more about who she was. I hope you enjoyed this video looking into the Stalkers, and if you'd like to see a similar video about the alchemists and the workshop technicians, let me know. I can do a 3-part series, and I'm actively taking topic suggestions as well, so share in the comments if there is anything that you would like to see discussed in upcoming videos. Thank you so much to my channel members for supporting my channel: Doomsday Zen, James Flack, Twisted Bishop, Joey, Alexander Jojo, Dantakoi, Francisco Mena, Solomon, Squally, and Edward Guerra. Thank you all again, and if you would like to sign up to be a channel member, you can do so on my page, because we will be watching the Game Awards show together in December, so you can join in time before that. Alright, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time with more Lies of P. Ciao!